Welcome to the Kentucky Watershed Academy. This is Module 1, where we're covering the Clean Water Act and other related laws. And in this presentation, we're going to look at the Kentucky Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. Watershed coordinators are primarily focused on the management of non-point sources. However, permitted and unpermitted point sources are present in most watersheds. Therefore, it is helpful to have some basic background on how these sources are managed so that you can determine what is acceptable, who to contact, how much pollution may be due to these sources, and other information. It is illegal to discharge pollutants from a point source to waters of the United States except by a permit. The Kentucky Division of Water, not the EPA, issues permits in the Commonwealth through the KPDES system. Each permit has a duration of 5 years before it must be renewed. All permits are subject to public review and comment. Permits can be either general or individual. A general permit is one permit that's issued for a large area, often the state, with many notices submitted as applications are made. These permits are available when there are many similar operation types of waste with the same limits or standards. An individual permit, one permit is issued for each application submitted. It is customized to each applicant. There's about 9,000 permits in the state as of 2018, 60% general and 40% individual. The types of activities permitted in Kentucky covers a wide range, including municipal wastewater, non-processed wastewater, sanitary wastewater, stormwater discharges, manufacturing and mining, commercial sites, concentrated animal feeding operations, aquaculture products, and silviculture activities. The types of discharges can be either direct or indirect. In an indirect discharge, the discharge is made into the publicly owned treatment works, or the sanitary sewer, which then processes it and discharges into a water body. These are managed through the National Pre-Treatment Program. A direct discharge discharges directly into the surface water. The KPDS manages only the direct discharges. However, wastewater facilities are required to have a pre-treatment program and a sludge management program, and wastewater facilities are permitted under KPDES. The KPDES system does not cover all permits that might result in releases of pollutants to the waterways. Constructions of dams, water and wastewater treatment plants, as well as general disturbances to the stream or construction activities in the floodplain are all handled through permits outside of the NPDES program. Water withdrawals are also handled outside of the NPDES program. Permits follow a basic format that is helpful to know in order to orient yourself as you read them. Each has basic elements. These include effluent limits. These effluent limits tell how much a facility can discharge. These are specific, numeric, measurable limits, often expressed as concentrations and volumes over a given time. Best management practices. These practices are required ways in which the permittee must try to reduce or minimize their pollution. They may be either structural, that is, something that must be constructed like a sediment pond, or non-structural or behavioral, such as good housekeeping practices or educational programs. Some permits also contain a compliance schedule. If the permittee cannot immediately meet the new effluent limits due to a need to modify their facility, the permit may include a series of enforceable sequences of actions with required dates that lead to compliance. That's called the compliance schedule. Not every permit contains a compliance schedule. Monitoring requirements. This practice describes what the permittee must do, what parameters, how frequently, and the techniques that should be used in the collection process. Reporting requirements. If the permit requires monitoring, it will also describe how the results are submitted, typically through a monthly discharge monitoring report, or DMR. Lastly, we have standard conditions. This is somewhat boilerplate language that's included in all permits, which include provisions and circumstance under which a permit may be reopened or revoked, or that the Kentucky Division of Water can enter the facility to perform inspections. Effluent limits or discharge limits are performance standards allowing the discharge as long as it meets the specific conditions. Technology-based limits are derived from studies that determine what levels of pollution control can be achieved using the most cost-effective set of pollution prevention and control techniques for a facility type. You may see different acronyms in effluent guidelines that describe these limits. For existing dischargers, you may see BAT or Best Available Technology that's economically achievable. You may see BCT, that's Best Conventional Technology, or BPT, Best Practicable Technology. New performance standards are new sources and are often more stringent because they can be built during the construction process. Water quality-based limits are additional protections assigned when the water body needs additional protections. These limits are more stringent, risk-based, and typically back-calculated from water standards or whole effluent toxicity limits for the water body to the specific facility. An example would be if there is a TMDL and the waste load allocated to the permitted dischargers must be reduced. Here's an example of technology-based limit from a municipal discharge permit. You can see on the left column the specific parameters: 5-day BOD, TSS, pH. In this case, there is a limit for a 30-day average concentration and a 7-day average concentration. In addition to maximum concentrations, there's a percent removal that's required for BOD and TSS. So parameters, concentrations, time frame, and in this case, a specific removal requirement are all included in the permit. You will see some variation from permit to permit, but it will look somewhat like this. The Kentucky Division of Water conducts about 5,000 inspections for permit compliance each year, with the breakdown on the inspections shown in the pie chart. They conduct routine inspections as well as investigation of complaints from citizens. If a permittee is not in compliance with their permit, they will be given a notice of a violation or an NOV. If compliance is not met, the state may pursue an enforcement action. Violations can occur in multiple ways. If a facility is discharging without a permit, that's a violation. If a facility discharges above its effluent limits, that is also a violation. If the facility does not meet some other aspect of the permit, such as not submitting their monitoring results on time, or reporting false results, or not meeting compliance schedules or other deadlines, it's also a violation. Rather than go immediately into enforcement actions and penalties, the goal is to bring facilities into compliance. The Department for Environmental Protection has a Division of Compliance Assistance that is tasked with providing education and assistance so that facilities can come into compliance. When compliance cannot be achieved through assistance, enforcement penalties may be pursued. This may include fines for typical violations, for example, if they exceed limits or fail to report, maybe imprisonment for criminal violations, such as repeated willful violations. You may have a supplemental environmental project or a SEP, SEP, which is a monetary penalty which goes towards the restoration projects, not to the Kentucky Treasury in general. An agreed order is a written agreement between the Kentucky Department of Environmental Protection and the violator. Permittees are required to self-monitor and report, with spot inspections occurring by the Division of Water. These samples and monitoring is intended to be representative of their actions in general. Federal requirements specify the monitoring and reporting requirements, and each permit describes the specific conditions for the permittee. Permittees are required to report on the results of their self-monitoring through the Discharge Monitoring Reports, which are available online through the EPA Enforcement and Compliance History Online or ECHO system. Tutorials are also available at the web address located below. At that site, you can download 3 to 5 years of data and have tables and charts with results, as well as annual pollutant load estimates and a compliance history of each facility. This is what the interface looks like at the EPA ECHO site. If you would like a tutorial on how to use this site, you can go to the ECHO website itself, or you can go to the KWRRI webpage, where you can find other resources and information on the Clean Water Act and other related laws. This concludes our presentation on the Kentucky Discharge Prevention and Elimination System. We hope that has been a helpful overview of what is covered in the permitting process for Kentucky.